Have you ever wondered about films that never made it to the big screen, or even television and streaming services? Well then, the Screenplay Archaeology podcast may be for you. On our show, we take a look at scripts or teleplays that were never produced, or sometimes even early drafts that were significantly changed before or during shooting, as well as the stories behind why they never came to be. Good script or bad, we consider them all to be fair game. So if any of this interests you, then come check out Screenplay Archaeology.
It's time to end the Cold War, baby. In this sequel, Rocky Balboa, in all his Adidas-clad, glistening glory, takes on the Siberian bull, Ivan Drago, the equally sweaty, pointy-haired, juiced-up lummox from the East. Once again taking on writing and directing duties, Sly Stallone returns to give audiences the ultimate showdown at the peak of the Cold War and the peak of the 1980s. This one's got it all. A synth score, 3 full needle drop montages, a fight for the ages, one of the best villains of the series, Rocky with a beard, and of course, the implication that Paulie is having sex with a robot. That's right, a robot. Rocky IV went on to become the most successful sports movie of all time, a record it held until it was eventually beaten in 2009 by The Blind Side. In 2021, Sylvester Stallone released a director's cut called Rocky IV, Rocky vs. Drago, in which the robot is cut entirely from the film, along with many other sillier aspects of the story. Joining us for this episode are 2 very special guests and friends of the pod, the writers of Creed II, a movie which acts as a direct sequel to Rocky IV, Juel Taylor and Tony Rettenmaier. Welcome to the ongoing saga of the Rocky franchise of films. This is the 1985 Sylvester Stallone USA versus the USSR boxing classic, Rocky IV. This is a show about franchises, underdog movie franchises. You're listening to License to Watch.
Why in the world was this movie made?
Did it. We're here. We're finally talking about Rocky IV. Welcome to License to Watch. I'm here with myself, Colin, Harris, and we have 2 special guests today. We've got Tony Rettenmaier and Juel Taylor, good friends of ours from school, from life, from right here, podcast world. Guys, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Finally. I mean, little do that people know we had some serious technical difficulties over here, you know?
Yep. We're starting about almost a full hour late.
Yep.
Technically, we resolved everything in under an hour, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, you know.
Well, yeah, so just to let you guys know, we've been fully immersed in Rocky world. We've watched, the first 3 movies leading up to this, and this is my personal favorite, I feel like.
Mine too.
I got a lot to talk about with this movie. I'm sure you guys do too. I watched the director's cut. I know Harris did also. I don't know who else watched it, but wonderful stuff. But the reason we have you guys on the show is because you have a bit of a interesting connection to this movie. So I want, maybe you guys could tell the listeners, how close you are to this film.
We worked on Creed too, so I guess that makes us relatively close. We're 1 degree separation.
You guys technically wrote the sequel to this sequel.
Yeah, Creed 2 is the sort of the unofficial sequel to this, direct sequel to this movie.
The backdoor sequel.
I wonder if that's happened before, like a franchise, like a sequel to a film in the franchise.
Like where they don't talk about the other ones, it's just a direct sequel to a sequel.
Just to one.
Yeah, because it's not like, it's not like they ignore everything that happened in the intervening, in the world of Creed 2, Rocky 6 and Rocky 5 still happened, right? But it kind of just doesn't really care about those. It's like directly related to the characters and the conflict that happened in this movie.
The events.
Yeah.
The events of this movie. Yeah.
Well, the Highlander series does not acknowledge the existence of Highlander 2 because of the like interdimensional aliens plotline.
Ooh.
You know, I'd never seen Highlander. I did not know there were interdimensional aliens.
Highlander,
Well, there's not.
great.
Yeah, officially there's not.
Oh, they're figuring.
Yeah. But this isn't a case of something being retconned out. This is just like many years after the fact. They were like, hey, it would be fun. Let's explore these characters again and see what happened after. Which I think, honestly, that was my big thing at the end of this movie, because I felt some sympathy for the Drago character in a weird way, despite the fact that, he's the bad guy of the movie.
Because he said, I'll fight for me. You're like, oh, yes.
Yeah, and you kind of see him in that situation. You're like, man, he's sort of in a tough place here, where he's got the weight of the whole country on his shoulders, and he's in this oppressive place where he doesn't really seem to have much a choice or much autonomy, and basically failure means like complete devastation of everything. Like his life goes from
failure means Creed 2.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what was. I mean, I know at one point I'd heard or I'd read somewhere in the trivia that when Sly was thinking about doing a sequel to Rocky IV, one idea was have a parallel structure where they look at Drago on the road to redemption back in Russia, and then Rocky, in America, which I think would have been a much more interesting movie, or just do a movie all about, which is sort of what Creed 2 tackles a lot of that. But I think it would have been a really fascinating movie just to do a Dolph Lundgren spin-off that's like, here's what happened to Drago after he goes home and is a failure,
Does Drago deserve that? Like, he murdered Apollo Creed.
He didn't murder. He
What do
killed
you
him in the
mean?
ring.
It's in
He's not a
sport.
killer. He's a fighter.
He knew that he could stop, and he kept going. And he knew.
True.
Like if he didn't keep punching, Apollo would have fallen down. But he kept him up by punching him more.
Yeah, I think in real life there would have been
Champions don't
an
quit.
investigation or some sort of punishment.
There would have been
Like,
a referee who stopped.
I'm about
the
to
fight.
say, I think the referee should have been disbarred for allowing
Yeah,
him to
yeah.
just, like in MMA, if someone's just like beating the fuck out of somebody on the ground, it's like,
every referee
Someone's
in this
gonna
movie
step
should
in.
be disbarred.
Yeah,
And
especially in
too.
that last fight, they're tackling people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if anything, the referee should be on trial for like manslaughter or something. There's in the first round, he hits Apollo 3 times after the bell, and there is no consequence. It's like the bell rings, he punches him once,
every
and then he punches
every
him
fight in this movie, somebody's fighting after the bell
Yep.
with no consequence.
Yep. Usually that's like a disqualification. The fight ends. It's like there's
Something.
some kind of penalty. Here it's just like, hey, boys will be boys. Who am I?
But
to
you know,
stop
I took
the ref.
I took the last fight as like they put a reason in why it goes all crazy. They say it's an unsanctioned fight, so it's like it's kind of anything can happen.
Yeah, unsanctioned ref.
Which is why Drago can pick someone up by his neck.
Then why do they have a referee at all?
That's a good question.
he was actually. It's like a WWE referee. He's just sort of there for the appearance of it.
He's just there to get thrown around.
Yeah, somebody hits him with a chair, and he's like, "Oh no, what can I do? I have no authority."
So obviously, we all have a lot to say about this movie, but I think before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, we do a segment here where one of us tries to summarize the plot in under 2 minutes. So I believe it's Colin, right?
Yes.
I seem to always forget.
But before we do that, I need another drink because it took us so long to get set up that I actually got through my first drink. Nobody even noticed what I was drinking, by the way.
Is it a White Russian?
It is.
I saw that, man. I was like, he's either drinking milk or he's drinking a White Russian. Very
You know what's so
appropriate.
funny? I've got one of those White Russians in a can in my fridge. I almost grabbed it and I was like, oh, I don't want that.
Oh yeah. Also, terrible idea.
Yeah, how they make those mixed drinks in cans
Yeah.
now?
Sometimes they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes science has gone too far, like with Drago.
Like with Drago, yeah. So, Colin, are you ready? Are you ready to summarize this thing? I got some background music for you.
All right, let's go.
All right, ready? On your mark, get set, go.
So obviously, Rocky IV starts with the end of Rocky III, as the Rocky movies do. We all saw the end of Rocky III. I'm not going to summarize that. So then Rocky, he's doing really good. He bought Paulie a robot, and there's robots in this. And he's he's still having sex with Adrian, and they're still married and love each other or whatever. And then there's this guy, Ivan Drago. He's the young Russian guy, the Siberian bull, they call him, and he's wanting to enter into professional boxing. So Apollo Creed, he's mad about this because he's like got a chip on his shoulder about how he's like a good boxer and like wants to fight somebody. So he tries to fight him. Apollo dies after much pomp and circumstance. So then Rocky is mad, and he agrees to take a fight with the Russian guy in Siberia for no money at all, in front of only Russians, for no an unsanctioned fight, for not for the title. So then he fights him and gets like a lot of brain damage, but all of that is fine because he makes a little speech at the end that is supposed to end the Cold War, and that's about it.
It's 90 minutes, and
it's 60 minutes of scenes.
It's really
minutes of montage.
It's really only about 30 minutes of plot because it's about 30 minutes of fight scenes and 30 minutes of montages. Yeah, exactly. There's only like about 30 minutes of story in this entire movie.
Let's get right into it. Let's get into the montages. I feel like they're such a huge part. They're like, this movie's a love letter to montage, I think. Like the French word, the the act of montagerie.
Yeah, montage et trois. There's at least a montage. There might be a montage a quattro in here.
Yeah. Definitely. There's like a montage, like I think Juel said, like a pre-montage that leads into a montage with an interlude in between of like acting. If that's what you want to call it.
That's the best one. Like that's
that was total chef's kiss to that one. We're talking, of course, about the training montage. So there's the training montage, both part A and B, and then there's the montage when he's driving in the car, the night drive.
My favorite montage in the movie because it is so useless and gratuitous and ridiculous.
It's wonderful. It's
filler. Filler is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, it's like they were like, oh no, we only made a 65-minute movie.
Well, you know those episodes of like when you get to like season 6 of The Fresh Prince or Martin, and you're like, it's like 2 minutes of story. Somebody comes over, like, remember the time?
It's a clip show,
the episode just becomes
a clip show,
a clip-o-matic of Fresh Prince first 4 seasons.
This is the Rocky version of a clip show.
That No Easy Way Out song, it just
Have you seen
so hard.
Basketball? You know, in baseball, there's this point at the end where they're montaging the song on the radio is exactly what's happening to the character. He's like driving. He's like, when your girlfriend dumped you and your boss is a dick, man, watch out for that. That's what happens in this. Cause I'm pretty sure the song is like,
when he lands in Siberia, it's like 2 countries. It's a paradox. It's like,
but even the song when he's driving, I think is like, I watched it this morning. It was like, "You're not indestructible" or something like that. And then going back to like Apollo and everything.
Can we please look up those lyrics at some point? I'm about to look up the what was it? Burning Heart. That was Hearts on Fire. What? Yeah. But is that the one
That's
with
when
the
he
when
lands?
he landed in Siberia? Because
literally, that one I think is called Burning Hearts.
Like,
there's Burning Hearts and Hearts on Fire.
Oh yeah,
both of them are in this movie. Burning Hearts and Hearts on Fire. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Everything's heart themed and also flame.
2 worlds collide.
Yeah.
2 worlds collide. Rival nations. It's a primitive clash, venting years of frustrations. Bravely we hope against all hope.
Is that by the dude that did the Eye of the Tiger song? Is it
Survivor?
the same dude?
Survivor.
I know Survivor did one of the songs in this movie.
I think it's the Burning Heart one.
Burning Heart. Yeah. Burning Heart.
Is that this one? That's the country's one? Yeah.
I just want to I want to point out again for the record that this is the second time. Like, I want to say, first of all, this is the best soundtrack of any of the Rocky movies, despite the fact that they barely use "Gonna Fly Now." Like, they really don't use like the iconic Rocky theme, and the Rocky fanfare really is almost absent from this movie, which is terrible and should be an unforgivable sin. Except they also have James Brown and a bunch of other kind of hot, very of their time.
Yo, are we going to Living in America this early?
We're on the soundtrack. Already? Let's do it.
I didn't know that Living in America comes from this movie. Like, this was
really?
this is where that song came from. Yeah.
Living in
I thought that song already existed.
Like, come on,
he hadn't had a hit in years, and this was like his first top hit in like 10 years, and then the last one he had in his life. But this was like a comeback for him.
Yeah. But they even managed to make like that scene like a montage. Like, I was watching it, it's like, this is going on for a while, man. It went on for like another 2 minutes after I had that.
It's the full song. It's the full song.
It was a big musical number.
It's the entire needle drop. Like, it's a
video.
full needle drop. But it's also the best intro in any Rocky.
It's amazing.
The big question,
it's amazing.
I think the big question we all ask is, did he waste too much energy on the dancing around in front of the giant bull? Yeah.
He killed himself dancing in front of that bull.
I feel like that's the Sports Center like desk talk right there. It's like, man, he just wasted his energy.
Well, he beat the hell out of a paper mache bull, but he couldn't handle the real guy quite as well.
I feel like if you didn't know that Apollo Creed dies during this fight, like watching this movie, I was like, okay, they're making it very apparent that he's gonna die. Yeah. Like every character is like, are you sure you need to do this? Like, you're going to get hurt. Do you need to get hurt this late in your life? Like, and he's like, oh, I gotta do it. And even he says to Rocky, he's like, this is just this one last time, you know.
They're like, do you need to get hurt this late in your life? And he's like, later than you think.
That scene's great too because they lean so hard into like the Russian Spartanness or whatever. Like Drago's like bewildered by like lights and dancing people.
His reactions really sell it. He's like, "Oh no, loud noises, pretty girls in scanty dresses."
He doesn't even have a line.
That top-down angle.
Yeah.
Because he's always like looking up at the camera. Like
his first line is in like his fourth scene.
I think he's only got like 10 lines in the movie.
He doesn't say anything for so
Who?
long.
Drago?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that though.
That was I've heard that was intentional because the other two guys that Rocky's fought are kind of the, you know, very talkative, and, you know, Mr. T and Apollo Creed are both very like chatty, and their idea was that Drago would just stand there and just never say anything, which is why he was supposed to have the political guy was supposed to do most of his talking for him. And then when Stallone cast his girlfriend in a major part, he had to give her lines. So he just started giving her lines that were originally the other guy's lines. So she just spoke for him. And then, as Matt knows, having seen the director's cut, he then cut all of her lines out in the director's cut.
Yeah.
She has like one line in the entire director's cut.
Wow.
All right, let's get right into that. I mean, so how many of us watched the director's cut or had seen it before? I know, besides me and Harris. Is that it? All right, so Harris.
One, to be honest.
All right, we have to tell them. So the director's
came out
cut
this year.
just came out like in November of last year. It went into theaters for like one day. I think it was like a special night, you know, one night only kind of a thing. But I don't know what the motivation for it was. I guess Rocky. I guess Sylvester Stallone like always had issues with this movie. So, like, I mean, for me, the major thing that they cut out was the robot is entirely gone, and his son. The son has no lines, basically.
I like how those two things are somehow connected. Out of curiosity, is the director's cut shorter or longer? Because the movie's already like 90 minutes.
I think it was about the same runtime, like maybe by a minute or two.
It's like less than 10 minutes longer. It's just a little bit longer.
How? But for me, so they cut out all that stuff, but he added in a bunch of scenes that are totally unnecessary. They're just like repeated beats. Like there's a scene where he's sitting with like the I don't know what they're called, but it's like the boxing like.
Oh yeah, added the boxing commission to explain why he's got to give up his title belt because
they just explained to him that like the fight isn't going to be sanctioned by them and like it's not going to mean anything.
Well, they tell him that Drago hasn't fought anyone, that he's got no,
which we knew.
You know, yeah, he's got no professional fights. Except for this one exhibition where he killed a guy. So they're like, they basically say the same thing that, that Rocky was saying before. So this is, I think the major improvement of the director's cut, I thought, was that, first of all, they start off with Apollo. They show, first of all, they open with way more of Rocky 3, which may be where they add some time, because they show his loss. They show his loss at the beginning of Rocky 3 to Clubber Lang, and then they show some of the training that he does, and then they show the fight, where he wins almost in its entirety. So that's actually probably where some of the added runtime comes in.
But you forgot they also show the scene where he goes to the gym and he's like all bummed that he lost,
and then Apollo
Creed presents himself, and they like
I think one of the things they do, and then after that, instead of going to Rocky and the robot and his son, they go straight to Apollo after the opening like repeat thing.
And that scene when he's in the pool.
Yeah, and you get but you get a lot more of like Apollo's talking about how like this is about, taking a stand for America and stuff like, and then he goes to Rocky and asks him to help him. And you really get a better perspective on why Apollo's doing this, that he's like really feeling the patriotism of it. And it makes the beginning of the movie much more about Apollo than about Rocky, which I thought was a good choice.
But I actually think Apollo, that's like one of the best scenes that Apollo has in all the movies to me is when he's like, if I can't fight, I'm nothing.
Yeah.
Like when he that scene that he has with the living room, that's
about being a warrior. Scene. That one.
About being a warrior.
It also has the best line in the movie.
Also,
when Sylvester Stallone goes, we'll be like regular people.
It's like Stallone is like ripped to shreds, and he's like, look at that guy on the screen. That's not me anymore. It's like, it was just
it's like, you're in much better shape now.
It's just like, what? You were like 10 times more ripped than you were in Rocky. Like, you just left the gym. Like in the last scene, you're like ripped to shreds
on top of your veins.
Not us anymore, man. I was like,
dude, you're in Predator in like 2 years. Have you seen yourself in that movie?
all of the scenes in this area of the movie, like, I'm really distracted by Rocky's clothes because they just look so fucking nice.
Oh, he's got Gucci, Adidas. He's got like gold chains. He's like swagging.
The suit he's wearing.
He's got like the big puffy like jackets and then like the skin tight black pants. He just looks like top heavy.
Oh, it's that one shot when it's like that one shot that when Adrian comes to Siberia.
He's got the big leather jacket.
It's like the searchers. It's just like he's got these like super tight pants.
So I watched all the movies always out of order. Like I watching them, it never went like just sequentially, just throughout the years. And so it was always, whenever I watched one, it was like a dartboard throw if he was going to be rich or poor.
And like kind of like articulate or barely even can put two words together, because that's like, this goes to our theory that we threw out last time, that he has he's got like some kind of mutation where he handles concussions the reverse of normal people. Like the more concussed he gets, the smarter he gets. Where he starts off his career and he's kind of this dopey club fighter and he's kind of can barely even talk. And then the more he gets beat up in these professional fights, the more like suave and the better he dresses, the more he can like sort of talk like a normal person. And then as he degenerates and you get into the Creed era, he gets a little like he suffers that he's not getting beat up enough. And his brain regresses his brain regresses to his earlier state.
Yeah, the brain damage gives him power.
He needs constant.
That's part of Rocky's
damage.
superpowers.
Yeah.
You know how like Bishop and the X-Men, if you like shoot him with a laser, like he can absorb it and then shoot the laser back at you. It's sort of like that, but with brain damage.
He gives people brain damage just by being near them.
Yeah, he needs somebody to absorb his brain damage.
Yeah. Harris, going back to the differences between the director's cut and the other one, correct me if I'm wrong. So I was really surprised that in the director's cut he left the night drive montage like in its entirety. It's like
he was like, no, I know gold when I see it. This is great.
Every montage in this movie is the full needle drop. It's like the entire music. You're watching a music video basically. But I think he changed some of the footage. So, like, in the regular cut, you see a lot of flashbacks to the older movies, and it basically, like, shows you every movie and every plot point that happened, like, leading up to that. But I think in the director's cut, it was some different footage. It was a little more focused on Apollo Creed only, and sort of, like, him missing his friend. And, like, am I right?
I do definitely think there was some changes. I couldn't pinpoint without watching them side by side. I think there was more of an emphasis on Creed, but you still have random stuff from like the first movie that's like Adrian, like a lot of like him talking to her at the pet shop is still in there, and
there's a lot of Rocky
Mickey
too,
moments.
Like their whole relationship, like all the relationship scenes with him and her, like all the ones from Rocky 2 are in that montage.
I really appreciated that they showed in black and white, like the scene when Adrian is up on the top of the stairs, like talking to him, which is the scene that just happened. Right
like seconds ago. And a lot of it is like from the Apollo and Drago fight, which is like right before that. So like, it's like literally all this stuff just happened.
I think Adrian comes off a little better in the director's cut too. She's got a little more like her explanation, because in this one she tends to look a little like a wet blanket who's just like, no, you guys are old, you're gonna die, it's like, okay, thanks, Adrian.
You can't win.
Yeah, but in the director's cut we get like a scene where she talks to Rocky and she's like, listen, this is a bad idea, you kind of know this is a bad idea, just tell Apollo this is a bad idea, and like I'll support you no matter what, but like be sensible. And she just has like it's like it just softens her just a little bit. Although I will say that I've always thought this was like the peak bad sports wife movie of like just her like not being supportive of him at all. But I forgot that she comes to Russia. I totally like. There's a lot of things about this movie that I haven't seen in so long that I totally forgot, and I totally had blacked out the part where she comes to Russia and actually is supportive, which sort of is her redemption of the character.
How could you forget that? Like
because all I remember is you can't win. You know, like that's what sticks out in my head. And her giving him like the shit like the stink eye as he's leaving, which actually is different in the director's cut too a little bit.
It's the formula.
But I mean, he also Apollo just got murdered.
Yeah.
He's like, so it's like I'd be like, your kid is in here like getting tucked in the bed. We've got like Hugo Boss and like Gucci. Like, what more do we need?
We got a fucking robot.
Are you at least making decent money on this job? You're what?
No. No.
It's like you're about to fight a guy who killed this dude for free in Russia. Like,
don't forget about the fact
that
like he has a press conference announcing the fight, and Adrian gets home from work, and the press are there, and she didn't know he was doing it at all.
Yeah, he didn't consult her.
What the fuck?
Well, honey, off to fight a murderer. See you later. What?
Why do you think he took away the robot?
I think over the years the robot has gotten like. It's like it's a signal that this movie like jumped the shark, or like, you know, it's gone it went too far,
or it's one of the most beloved characters in the franchise.
I was gonna say it's very iconic in its own way.
I wonder if it was more to cut out the son. He was bad.
Oh, I know. Well, maybe because in Rocky 5, he's like a different kid like 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
And it's like I would think the more jump the shark thing, even though Rocky 4 definitely did not jump the shark, but the hip hop montage is where you're like, all right, like we're going too far. Like, it's like they not to talk about Rocky 5 too much. But,
wait, what hip hop in 4?
In Rocky 5.
You know they
yeah.
They got cool and hip, and so now the montage got to have rap in it.
I think Matt's probably right. It probably was more about cutting out the kid because he really doesn't figure into the plot at all, and it just kind of in every movie that he's in Rocky 3 and in this one especially, it's like his whole role is like to be in the way, and then the parents are always leaving him to like go off and do other things alone. Yeah. Like he never travels with the family for whatever reason, and it's kind of like just because they don't know what to do with the character. It's just like they gave him a kid and they don't actually want them to have a kid, you know?
It's an accessory.
However, I will say that I did really miss the scene where his son is watching the fight with his buddies, and they're all like, you know, oh, you know, we know who your dad is. What do you think we are, dorks, or like whatever? But then when he says I love you to his son on the camera, and then it cuts to the kid and he's like, I love you, Dad. You know, he just like mouths it.
That's probably one of the things they cut out too.
They cut it out, but yeah, I missed that scene. That was good. That was my favorite thing that the kid did.
My favorite thing about the robot that they cut out that I have totally forgotten. Another thing that I just did not remember about this movie is that the robot turns into a girl robot and turns into a sex robot. I assume for Paulie.
Yeah, because Paulie's fucking it.
Yeah, Paulie's definitely
clearly
fucking
getting
that robot.
hand jobs from that robot.
Yes, which is terrifying.
He's so disgusting. Like Paulie is like the most disgusting character in this whole franchise. Like, he's nasty as fuck.
This is the least disgusting version of Paulie. This is where he's been softened to the point that you actually kind of almost like him and forgive him for being a horrible racist, and B, like a domestic abuser of his sister. It's like all these other things that he's.
It's clearly like it's clearly like the writers. It's like, oh yeah, we're turning this character into. It's like someone telling you, hey, I'm trying to turn this character into comic relief, and like it doesn't land for me. Like the Rose Bowl game thing, the little Alvin and the Chipmunks cassette tape thing. It's all just like, yeah, but this is a horrible man
who fucks robots.
I did like the scene when he tells Rocky, like, if I could be anybody else, I would be you. That was a good scene.
That is a good scene because he should want to be somebody else.
Yeah, just anybody else.
No, it's good. Then comes back later. He sees Drago. He's like, I take it back. I
take it back. Yeah.
That is the funniest line he has, I think.
I did read something cool. It said, you know the part when Rocky says, I see 3 of them out there, because he's like so shaken up. And they say hit the one in the middle. That's like a real line. Like some fight in the 30s, like some boxer was like hit so hard that he was like seeing, you know, triple, and his like his inside guy or whatever was like
Max Baer and Max Schmeling
Yeah, there you go.
That's the one from Cinderella Man, right?
Yeah, the bad guy from Cinderella Man, who apparently was like a super nice guy. That in that movie he had to be a villain. Another huge difference between the director's cut that's really only cutting out a couple of shots, but in the Apollo Creed fight, in the original cut, there's a moment where Apollo's wife stands up and yells, "Throw the towel!" And then you see Rocky pick the towel up off the ground, and then you see him like look, and then Duke is telling him, "Throw the damn towel, throw the damn towel." And then you see Apollo like lean over and tell him, "No, don't throw the towel." And Rocky holds it and watches Apollo get beat more, and then eventually drops it on the ground when Apollo goes down. And in the director's cut, he never even picks up the towel. It's like the wife yells, "Throw the damn towel," and Rocky like looks down at the towel, and then when he looks up again, Creed's taking his last blows and is down for the count. So it sort of absolves him it absolves him of being like guilty of making the bad decision, so he can blame
because
himself.
He was guilty of that.
Yeah, exactly.
He should have thrown in the towel. Like I don't think that is I don't think people discuss that enough. Like Rocky's agency in stopping the fucking murder.
that little bit is amazing too, because like they cut like Apollo's dying and they're interviewing Drago. You know, like they're putting the flag on him.
Yeah. Who would comment right on the possibility of this guy dying? Like in that moment, like that's
Do you have any thoughts on your opponent who may be breathing his last breaths just feet away? If he dies, he dies.
Fuck him.
Oh my god. Yeah, why does Drago need to get redeemed? Like, what the
why are they having a press conference where they're literally like standing astride a dying man?
Yes,
maybe not the most appropriate time.
This is why you can't cut the robot, because this does not take place in the fucking real world. Like,
I know you would have
the robot is necessary.
For the robot.
The robot is necessary because we're not in the real world anymore. This is not the real world. Like none of this should or would happen. I cannot like stop being upset about the fact that he would take a fight for no money. Like,
well, Colin, here's the thing.
It's his whole job.
I don't know if Stallone did this on purpose, but I mean, I kind of really enjoyed the whole thing of like, so we get this rich Rocky, right? He's rich. He's got Lamborghinis, 2 of them, I think. He's got a robot. He's got everything he could possibly imagine, right? And so he meets this guy that he has to fight, and like in order to do so, he has to go back to basics. And like in his training, he has nothing. He just has this log cabin, right? And so he has to like go back to lifting rocks and lifting logs over his head.
I get the impression that he had to pay the Soviet government for that. So like it's not even that he's like not doing it for money. He's paying his own money to do this fight.
Yeah, but that's kind of the message I got, is that like all the money like doesn't matter. It's like what it boils down to is like whether your heart's burning for it, you know, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you know, Drago has all the money and he has all the technology around him at the end. And so like, you know, they make it very clear in that montage that they're both doing the same workout, but Rocky is doing it like the harder, with heart, exactly, like the harder way. And so I kind of appreciated that.
I understand all that, but like you're also like, and like that would make a lot of sense if it were like some other kind of thing that they were competing in. But the movie is also very clear about like the mortality risk in boxing, and like. And also, it's like, it does hint at the fact that Rocky is not good about spending his money. Like, he's like still like overspending, it looks like, from where he's at.
I mean, but to be fair, he was poor like shortly after this.
Which means like, why would he do it for no money? Like,
isn't that in Rocky, when he loses his money, isn't it because like he mismanaged it or his accountant took it all or something?
He spends a lot quick and he can't do anything else. He tries to get like a real job and they're like, you have a 7th grade education or something like that.
Rocky is 100% terrible with money. Is like, they never deviate. The character's inconsistent in many ways. His intelligence, his articulateness, everything like that. His basic size and ability to take and deliver punches. But it's very consistent in that he's shit with money at all times. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have any concept of the value of anything.
Sorry, wait. Another thing is in Rocky 2 also, he could not drive even an automatic car, and now he's like fucking flying in a Lambo.
Well, no, that actually tracks. That actually tracks with like the progression of learning stuff, because he's been driving cars for a while now, so you figure he'll probably get better at it. Oh, here's another thing that the director's cut does differently. It's very weird in this movie to me that at Apollo's funeral, no one else talks except for his boxing buddy, who he actually was
Duke was like his father.
Yeah, exactly. And so in the director's cut, the funeral scene, Duke gives a very long speech about how Apollo was a fighter and how he went out on his own terms, and we all have to respect that.
That's better.
And, the warrior's way or something. And then Rocky gets up there, and instead of delivering the speech that he delivers here, which is like, I don't even remember what he says, but it's very like, he's very cut off. He actually says like, he just talks directly to Apollo, and he says, "You gave me a shot when nobody else gave me a shot. You believed in me when nobody else believed in me." And then he just gets choked up and starts crying, which is both like everything about the funeral scene. They basically cut out the good version of the funeral scene and added the dumb one. And so the director's cut, I think, improved that a lot.
That's crazy. That's a way better
That's the scene that I thought was like missing is Duke talking to Rocky, because like in the way it's cut now, like Duke clearly saying throw in the towel, and he didn't. And then next time you see him, I'm pretty sure he's just saying like, man, go fight.
I love you.
Yeah, no, he's like, my son's dead. I need a new son.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question for you guys. So for Tony and Juel, when you guys got the gig, to write Creed 2, I think a good question would be like, what kind of research, going into these movies did you have to do? And then how much interaction do you actually have with Stallone? And like, maybe do you have any fun, interesting stories that you could tell about that experience?
It's a unique situation how Creed came about. So we had a compressed timeline to work on the first draft of Creed 2. So we had to squeeze a lot of
so you guys
research.
did the first draft of it?
We did. No, we went all through production. But in the beginning, in terms of like our time to research was like really truncated, actually. From the time of hearing about the job, when Steve was like, "Hey, you interested in writing Creed 2?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, for sure." You busy? I was like, I can time. But didn't really think about it too much. Like I heard about it on a Sunday, and then by Tuesday I was at MGM interviewing. So, and by interviewing I mean like getting grilled by the execs at MGM. They were like, "Who the fuck are you? What the fuck are you doing in here?" It's like, I don't know, man. I just heard about this like 2 days ago. And so Steve had kind of basically said like, shit. He really was selling it, But he's like, by the time you go and close somebody's deal, we can have you a draft. And they was like, all right, fuck it. That was pretty much the auspices that the job was gotten, was just, all right, fuck it, don't you fuck up, don't you fuck us, So we had like 3 weeks to like do a page one for the first draft, and it was only one step on the draft. So it was like, fuck this step up, you get cast out the boat. And so the research was, it was really just watching, all of the Rocky movies kind of, because like Tony said, like, most people, I think Rocky 4 might be the first Rocky movie I ever saw. It definitely was my favorite one as a kid.
For sure.
And you don't think nothing's weird about the robot when you're a kid. It's definitely the one I remembered the most from like childhood. I actually remember Rocky 5 pretty good from childhood, funny enough. He used to be on TNT and shit like that. I feel like it was on TV all the time, I feel like, growing up. But we watched all the Rocky movies, just sequentially. And we talked to the producers, like Irvin Winkler and like his kids, like the same people have been producing them all since like the first Rocky. Irvin Winkler, and then like his sons, and then like the same little group of people have been making Rocky movies the whole time. So a lot of it was, they kind of have a encyclopedia of, internal Rocky lore, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? It was actually a while though before we actually met Sylvester Stallone. But he was cool though. It wasn't until like pre-production that that Sly actually. Before that, it was just he would write Rocky dialogue, write Rocky scenes, write Drago passes, send it to Steve, and I would send stuff to Steve, and then we would just go like that. And then in pre-production, we flew out to Philly, and only then did was Sly actually there. And so I'm trying to think of a funny story. I mean, I think the one thing I'll say about Sly as a writer, he's actually pretty chill. You know what I'm saying? He's pretty like everybody else. He's pretty like down to earth and like, you think this lie is stupid? Well, you know what I'm saying? I can't do a Sylvester impression, but he would like write shit and be like, this is stupid. This is fucking. I'm like, it ain't stupid, brother. Shit, but it's like it's Rocky sitting there saying, man, this shit's stupid, man. Fucking scene. You know what I'm saying?
He had that cool line. I don't think it made it into the script. Remember, it was like something Drago said. It was like, I got up to heaven and looked up and didn't see God's feet. It was something like that. It was actually like a really hard line.
What the fuck? He had a super hard line for Drago. He said, I stopped believing in God. I looked up in the sky and couldn't see his feet or some shit. He had some like, Russian kind of swag to the line. But he was, like Sly's like a storyteller though, man. He's always talking about like the way shit was in the 80s. And, I think I didn't really sit with him too many times in person. You know what I'm saying? Probably maybe 3 or 4 times, just actually like sitting in a room, and that was like to like review certain scenes. You know what I'm saying? So he'll like one time there was a graveyard scene that we worked on that he had written, and it was like, come to Sly's trailer. I was like, oh shit, So I go into Sly's trailer. He's got like fucking Hannity on in the background. I was like, oh shit, it's going down. But he was actually, it turned out he was cool as a motherfucker though. And he was definitely, you had to ask Steve about him as an actor, you know what I'm saying? But like on the writing tip, I mean, he was pretty, he's pretty down to earth.
He's pretty astute too, from like the interviews I've seen of him and things I've read. Like he, in terms of like honing his craft and like, filmmaking and stuff, like he really, I mean, he knows his shit and like he understands.
He writes on paper. So he writes everything on like loose leaf paper, and then his assistant types it.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, he's got like yellow pad, and he just writes all the shit on yellow pad and then gives it to his assistant, and they put it in final draft. Yeah, no, he's got his methodology is like unchanged for like since the 70s.
Now, so when you guys came aboard and you had to write this script from page 1, like you said, was the idea of the story kind of there? Like you knew it was going to be Ivan Drago return kind of thing? Or like, I guess how much of it was like you had to write this particular story, and then how much of it was like you guys could kind of go in your own direction?
I mean, Drago was in it. It was going to be him. And like the thing we always talked about is that like these movies have kind of established patterns in them, so like even if we were able to do whatever we wanted, it probably would have fallen into the pattern of like, training for one fight in the middle. It doesn't go as right as it should, then like everyone has to regroup, train again, and then a fight at the end. So, like from 10,000 feet, they all kind of look the same, except for maybe Rocky 5.
There's also Maxim.
I haven't seen, but
there's also like things that the producers like. For example, like there must always be the steps.
That's why it's like, but when I rewatched, Rocky 4 today. They don't have the steps. They have the mountain. Right?
The mountain is a metaphor.
But are the steps in every other single
the steps are in it.
Movie? Is this the only one that doesn't have steps?
But it does have.
I know
it's in the. It's just in the flashback.
But that doesn't count.
This is kind of the only one that doesn't really have.
They cheated. They cheated.
In Rocky 3, he doesn't run them.
But I feel like they thought they were being, like, very pushing the envelope. Where it's like, no, not steps now. It'll be a mountain this time.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and it works though.
Bigger than steps. And
it does work.
And and the producers were like, there was no steps in this. And this is the real problem. We gotta.
Yeah.
Oh no, 100%. I could almost guarantee you at some point in post, I was like, "Fuck, where are the steps?"
This could have been a perfect movie.
We got montages, baby.
The fucking steps.
Yeah. Is that a stuntman on that mountain though? You don't get to see his face.
Yeah, I wonder.
Oh yeah, Drago is definitely probably a stuntman. He was getting ready for cliffhanger.
I was looking at that today because I remember as a kid always thinking it seemed like a really dangerous thing to be up there on this little tiny precipice of this snow-covered ridge. And when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, no, it can't be that dangerous. It must just look dangerous. And I was like looking at it, I was like, shit, even if there wasn't snow and ice everywhere, I would still be nervous about being up on that like narrow little, like you fall in either direction and you're
dangerous to fight Drago, man.
That's,
you know?
Yeah,
you gotta accept the danger.
Willing to live with risk.
But according to some things that I've seen, if you become a snowball, the snowball just wraps around you and you just roll all the way down.
If Scooby-Doo has taught you anything. Yeah, this movie is a bit of an outlier. It's the only one that has different music. It doesn't have like the same Bill Conti like score. But I actually really dig the soundtrack of this movie. Like not just the needle drops, but like everything, all the music.
But I missed the classic Rocky music though. They should have stuck it in somewhere. I don't know.
They kind of have. Well, it opens with "Eye of the Tiger," right?
Yeah, they have themes that reference it, but they don't really lean into the classic. You know, Gonna Fly
and then
Now.
The final bell when he wins, like they go into that same music that they always play whenever he wins.
Yeah. This is actually, since we were talking about the script of Creed 2 and that process, this is kind of has a famous lawsuit associated with it because apparently there was a guy named something Anderson who came in and pitched a treatment for Rocky IV to MGM, and they were like, no, that treatment sucks, get out of here. And then like a few years later, this movie came out and he was like, that's my fucking treatment. Like they took my idea and they didn't give me anything. And so he sued them, obviously, and it got thrown out, not because his treatment wasn't similar to the final product, but because his treatment was based on unauthorized characters that he didn't have the right to use. So because he didn't own the characters, he wrote like basically a spec, and they apparently claimed they had the right to use it since it included their characters. So just an interesting.
Damn.
Yeah. So I guess a good lesson about like definitely if you're writing a spec script based on an existing franchise, like fake all the character names to something else and act like it's an original.
Going back to what you were asking before about like Creed 2 and how you're saying like Sly is like really astute. He wanted this one thing in Creed 2. He wanted to punch Drago. Like he wanted a scene where he and Drago get into a fight. And so we wrote it in the movie. Steve shot it. It didn't make the cut. And we were always like kind of like hesitant about it. It was like, no, this like seems kind of like cheesy or weird. But I remember once we were in Steve's garage talking story and everything, and his neighbor came over and asked what we were doing. He said, oh yeah, doing Creed 2, and explained the story. And he goes like, oh man, Rocky's got to fight Drago, man. He's got to get one in, you know? So like, to Sly's credit, like he knows what the people want. You know, like, you know, the fans want to see that.
He's got instincts.
I feel like this movie in particular like is definitely fan service. Like as I'm watching this, like I just have this big like grin on my face. I'm like, this movie just has everything that you want in a Rocky movie. Like the montages are great. Like, you know, the rivalry,
the robot,
the robot, the cars,
James Brown.
Really, it's like it's got an Apollo Creed fight. It's got like stakes, like I don't know. It's just like it's a real people pleaser. This one, I feel like.
I think it's crazy that they're able to, gloss over the whole idea of like him getting hurt while the plot actually has a point about how another guy died doing the same thing and he is like putting himself at risk of death. Like, I don't know. That's just.
It was the Cold War. Cities could evaporate in an instant, man. People lived with death.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
He if this movie had been called Apollo, then we would probably have more faith that Apollo was going to survive that fight. We know that Rocky's indestructible because he's got very thick plot armor.
I want to. Drago even says that, right? He says he's not a man; he's iron.
Yeah. I want to go back to where Sylvester Stallone has terrible instincts. Because as we all agreed last time, he chose instead of the great Karate Kid song, what is it?
The Glory of Love.
The Joe Esposito song. He what's
You're the best around?
You're the best around. He chose
okay.
Survivor over You're the Best Around, which clearly You're the Best Around's a better song. I'm not going to get into a whole debate about that. But then he did it again in this one where Peter Cetera had the song The Glory of Love that was supposed to be the theme song for this. And Sylvester Stallone listened to it and was like, no, that's shit. Give me that Hearts on Fire one. That's the one I want. So, of course, Karate Kid, that franchise is just scooping up all of the leftover garbage from Rocky, just swooped in and said, hey, Glory of Love, we're in. And it is a much better song. That's the second time that Sly has passed on a superior song.
But I think the Rocky franchise is more successful than the Karate Kid franchise. So
yes, but not because of the music, clearly.
I don't know, man. It's aggregate.
No, we went through this in the last episode. Harris is he's a hater of Eye of the Tiger, when obviously like everyone else in the world loves that song.
Yeah, I mean we could wax on and on about this.
Hey,
hey.
Okay.
I think this is Dolph's first movie, right? Is that true?
No, I thought like He-Man and Punisher were before this.
No. This was his. Yeah, he got those off of the strength of this. He had a small non-speaking role in A View to a Kill because he was dating Grace Jones at the time, and they were like, "Who is this giant that's with you on set all the time? Let's put him in the movie." But yeah, this is his first big acting role, which is one of the reasons why I'd heard that they intentionally made him kind of silent, because they wanted him to contrast with all the talkative guys that Rocky's fought before. But I also wondered if maybe they just weren't sure about his acting ability. I know that it wasn't because they weren't sure about his accent, because the Russian accents in this movie are universally just terrible. It's like the anti-House of Gucci. It sounds like they're all speaking Italian.
I know a big plot point we haven't talked about at all. Juicing. Steroids, blood doping.
I got a big take on this. Go ahead.
Okay, like it's pretty clear they're like the real men in this movie have both taken steroids. So like were 1985 audiences like suspending their disbelief on that, or were they just like rolling with it?
I thought I remembered. I could have sworn I remembered in this movie that like halfway through the fight, the higher ups like give the signal to like juice Drago and like pump him up during this fight. And obviously I watched it this morning and that didn't happen. So I don't know what movie I'm thinking that's from, but I have such a distinct memory.
They slipped the steroids in this movie so smooth. It's like they didn't even want you to know.
It's just another part of the montage.
Farts on fire. Anyway, you're like, what the? It's like, wait, was that fucking steroids?
Yeah, just in the middle of this other montage.
Slid in there. It was nothing to like say, hey, remember this? He didn't even get caught for doping. Like he didn't get like it was under the table, got away with it. This was not Lance Armstrong.
There's a line or two in the press conference where like one of the reporters,
yeah.
But like, they didn't actually catch him though.
No, definitely not.
No, I mean,
who's gonna catch him? The Soviets want him to be like that.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there's no consequences to the doping whatsoever. It's just
he just looks really good. That's the consequence.
Like Rocky triumphed over science. That's the the
exactly
tagline.
And technology.
He had like the fucking Tenkaichi, the Dragon Ball Budokai punching machine. You remember?
Rocky did, but Sylvester Stallone probably just also took steroids.
Probably. There's criminal records associated with that, so I don't know.
I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but it's possible.
Here's the thing.
It's possible.
You know what the real performance enhancement is in this movie? It's a little thing called vitamin D. Drago seems to be training in some kind of basement, and Rocky is out there in nature with his CrossFit barn, getting a lot of sunlight. And that's what I think.
Why is Rocky tan in the end if he was wearing all those clothes
that's what I think. Well, I assume he ran shirtless every once in a while. We just didn't see it. That is,
no.
I assume that is what really swung the fight in his favor. The power of the sun.
Well, it definitely does seem that like no place in this movie had like air conditioning, because everyone's always really sweaty. Like when they come out in the fight, they're like it's like a It's like Tony Scott does that, right? In all his movies, like everyone was just like perspiring. It looks
a lot of baby oil.
Yeah, Ivan Drago especially
in the scene that comes in between round 1 and round 2 of the Apollo Creed fight. Apollo is like soaked. Like it doesn't even seem possible. Like I don't like.
He did a lot of dancing before he even started the fight.
He already broke a sweat. I know. He wasted all that energy. Apollo should have won. By the way, I don't know if it's been cleared up to this point that that's my position. Is that Apollo should have won that fight, and like that's wrong.
Man, I think you just don't like Drago, man.
Yeah.
He killed my favorite character.
I read that Stallone regrets that decision, that he shouldn't have killed Apollo Creed. He should have just been like handicapped.
He should have just paralyzed him. Yeah, I gotta say I don't know that that's as merciful as he thinks it is. I also think once again I'm always impressed by Carl Weathers in every movie that he's in. Impressed by his physique and his size. You know, like he's a great actor, but he's also just fucking huge in this movie. And again, it's like Lundgren is supposed to be this, you know, they cast him because he's super tall and he was, you know, I guess he had to gain a lot of weight to really fill out for the part, but like he looks enormous. But when you see him in the ring with Apollo, it's like, yeah, he's kind of big, I guess. It's only when you see him with Sly that you're like, oh yeah, he looks huge. But like when he's in the ring with Carl Weathers, it's like, yeah, Carl Weathers is a big fucking dude, you know, like I don't know. It doesn't seem like this is like a, you know, such a one-sided fight.
Carl Weathers is the only person in this movie he shares the screen with who's able to make him do that. In every other, like in the shots when Drago is walking in, it looks like he's like 8 or 9 feet tall.
But he also wears, like, do you notice how the way his robe is cut to make his body look like a fucking triangle? Like, you know, he's got these like shoulder pads on his robe. His hips are like super narrow.
Yeah, these shoulder pads were big.
When he's walking into the ring with that backlight, it looks exactly like the end of Close Encounters when all the little aliens are like walking away with like the normal size human.
No, there's I think Juel and I kind of talk about this sometimes, like those, like the heroes of like the 80s and early 90s movies, like they were these like larger than life characters, right? Yes. Like they were like not supposed to be relatable, versus like nowadays, like all our action heroes, I feel like all the Marvel characters, like they go through great pains to make them relatable people, you know, versus, but like I don't think we were ever supposed to think we could become like Sylvester Stallone. Or
because the 80s was all about excess, and like not only excess in like your wealth and what you accumulate as a person, but also like what you accumulate inside your body, your muscle mass. You know, like we're talking about people who have excess muscle, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone, who else? Dolph Lundgren, Van Damme. Like all these guys are just like monsters who you don't associate with because they're obviously like. Juicing. Like I said, they're juicing.
That's why Die Hard was such an innovation, because it was like, hey, here's this kind of normal-looking guy that doesn't have superpowers, and he's going to fight terrorists, and it's like, what? Wait, why isn't he huge? You know, but then eventually, what did they do with that? They were like, yeah, he should probably be bigger if he's going to fight all these bad guys all the time. Let's just make him into a superhero.
I know you guys probably don't realize it, but to me right now, you're still making the point that the robots should be in the movie. Especially when they're using like props from like Battlestar Galactica to like, you know, intercut with Drago training for some reason, because those machines for sure do something. Right?
Hey, they lit up, man. There's lights on them. They do something.
He's always running around in like low lit empty gyms and stuff. Oh, yeah. It's such a weird.
Like they're putting so much money into the computers for the gym, but the gym can't have lights on. He has to have a follow spotlight.
Spotlight. He's got a spotlight that literally tracks him around in case he tries to make a break for it.
I heard a theory that that's like to put pressure on him. That's like training him for the pressure of the spotlight of the.
I love stuff like that where like the fans fill in the like stuff that doesn't make sense.
Colin's great at that.
There's a lot of technology in this movie, though. I mean, you notice that like Carl Weathers has like a wireless TV. Like his TV has no power cord. You're like, Jesus, like the technology on the computer seems like it's super futuristic.
They got the cordless phone on the robot.
Yep.
Cordless phone on the robot. I mean, Carl Weathers is literally in his pool watching
the TV's too close to that pool,
though. That's powered by sunlight, you know?
I don't want to see the TV so close to that pool.
I was just impressed with how many tennis balls he owned. I guess if you have 3 like Golden Labs or whatever those were, you got to have a lot of tennis balls. But there's a lot of tennis balls in that scene. He's got like way. He's got more tennis balls than dogs.
What is it about being rich that makes you want to buy like a lot of identical dogs? You know what I mean? Like, why do you want to buy like copies of the same dog when you're rich?
You get one dog you like and then you just clone it.
Yeah.
But all this technology in the movie, like the movie's constructed beautifully. Because again, where does Rocky go to train? Trains in a barn. That's why the robot is necessary for the movie, right? Because like it ultimately goes to like, no, all you need is humanity and heart to win.
Exactly.
So you start with a robot.
There's an arc here.
Yeah, they got to the end and they were like, okay, what's the opposite of barn? Robot.
I love when the KGB guy is like, all the materials you've requested are in the barn, or whatever. I can't do the accent.
I just remembered
neither
a
could
cut
he.
scene. There's a scene from the director's cut right in that moment where Duke says to that Russian guy, he's like, hey, where's all the...
when are the sparring guys partners?
The sparring partners. Yeah, when are the sparring partners going to get here? And he's like, oh, I was not requested to get sparring. You have no sparring partners. And he's like, and then he turns to him and he's like, everything you asked of me has been... everything you've requested is here. So that line has like a different tone in the director's cut. But that's why he has no sparring partner.
And then the end it ends. It also explains why the scene in the original movie is just Rocky saying, like, Paulie says something about the sparring partners, and Rocky's like, I don't think I need to spar anymore. Which makes more sense when it's the context of they were expecting sparring partners and they aren't getting any. So this is something that I remember being. We should talk about like when we first saw this in our earliest memories of this movie. And my earliest memories. This might be the first Rocky movie I saw. It's definitely something I saw on TV, and I definitely remember kids at school talking about it. And I also remember. Do you ever have like that kid at school that's like he's cool, so everyone doesn't contradict him and just believes everything he says? But also he's an idiot, so he says a lot of stupid shit and everyone like goes along with it. So we had a kid at school that was convinced that there was a subplot in this, not even a subplot, but like the story of the movie is that Ivan Drago is a robot. And somehow if you like, I think I was one of the voices of reason that was like, no, that definitely is not the case. They even say at one point that he's just a man and he bleeds and whatever. And I remember being laughed at and mocked for having the opinion that Ivan Drago was not supposed to be a robot.
Look at this guy over here. He thinks he's human.
I like to think this is like a core memory. Right? Like this like thing really shaped who you became.
Yeah, well, no, I learned that I should go along with the story a little better if I didn't want to be made fun of constantly. But that was definitely like little kids watch this movie and was like, yeah, he's a robot. And also, by the way, stupid kid, there is a robot in this movie. We know what they look like in the universe of this movie. It doesn't look like Drago at all.
More and more we talk about it, I actually think the robot in the movie is really, really essential.
Yes,
thematically and poetically, man. It was a great decision.
Agreed.
Should not have cut it out.
What about
like what is up with that weird phenomena of like some little kids like they instead of choosing to have a personality because they're so afraid of like their real personality not being accepted that they choose to like just make up wild stories and like just say that it's true. Like kids do that. Like that's like a known kid thing.
All kids do that.
Yeah, like, man. I think Colin, you're coming out a little hot on the child liars.
No, he's right. I think all kids do that, but then like there's always that kid that continues to do it like into middle school and even high school, where like you're just like, I don't believe what you're saying. Like, why are you lying to me?
Have you ever met like an adult who just says, like, they could be a perfectly nice person. Like I'm thinking particularly of a friend of mine that I had for years who would occasionally just tell a story and just be, and you'd be like, wait, what are you no, I was there that day. None of that happened. What are you, insane? Like, why are you trying to convince me that like, just like somebody who just is detached from reality, where they will just go off and like it's so easy for them to just tell bullshit stories that you can't trust anything they ever say because they've said enough things that you personally witnessed that weren't true that you're just
like Colin the other day when we recorded the Rocky episode. He was like, "Did you guys see that meme that I sent you?" And I'm like, "You mean the one I sent you?"
That was an honest mistake. Trying
to take credit. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, that was an honest mistake. I didn't know. My favorite one is there's always one kid who's like, my uncle is like the this, and they're like the president of something or whatever, or they own every like, whatever. Like I don't know.
My dad invented the moon.
Like the sixth grader who lost his virginity when his family was on vacation at Niagara Falls, and she was really hot. She was a ballerina.
She's from Canada.
Hey,
you don't know her.
You gotta be careful.
She's not on Facebook. Don't worry.
Yes.
You gotta be careful around Niagara Falls. Some people get wet.
Oh God.
Okay, so you've got a couple of these in the bag. I see.
This is my life.
With that, should we jump to top 4, Harris?
We certainly could jump to top 4. Yeah, let's do it. So so we play a game called Top 4. We're going to talk about according to IMDb, you know how on everyone's IMDb page it has the 4 movies they're known for, and they do not have any rhyme or reason to them mostly. And we play a little game where you guys try to guess the top 4 movies for a specific actor. So the actor we're going to be doing is Dolph Lundgren. So we start with the guests first. We'll go. Do you guys have a preference? We can go Tony first, then Juel.
I mean,
just guess one. Yeah, just guess one Dolph Lundgren movie that you think would be in his top 4.
And I don't know too many, but I gotta believe Rocky IV is in his top 4.
It's a great guess, and that is correct. All right,
excellent.
I mean, I think it's safe to say Creed 2 will also be in his top 4 of Rocky 4.
It should be, but top 4 is a fickle mistress, and definitely, it doesn't always make sense.
Wrong. Oh, I know.
Well, hold it because it'll come back around to you. Matt, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll say Masters of the Universe.
You are right.
Yeah. Got to be.
All right,
definitely.
Now it gets a little tricky. Colin?
The Punisher?
No, good guess, but wrong.
He's in The Punisher?
He's in the original Punisher.
Yeah, he was the original Punisher.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
All right, Tony, we're back around to you.
Casting, but whatever.
I don't know anymore that Dolph's in.
Expendables.
That's another good guess that is also wrong.
Wrong.
Ooh. I know what it might be.
There's like 5 Expendables movies now.
I know what it might be.
All right, Matt.
Okay.
Oh, it's on to me again?
It is.
Dolph Lundgren. Is he in like wait, hold on.
I got one.
Is he in like a Universal Soldier movie? Is he?
Is
he in the first one?
With Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Is that your guess? The first one?
Universal Soldier. Yeah.
You're right.
Yes.
The first Universal Soldier.
Who's the Dolph Lundgren looking clone in Die Hard?
Oh, that's what is his name?
Oh, Hans?
Yeah.
No, the blonde-haired German
blonde
guy.
that gets
Isn't his name Hans? Oh no, Hans Gruber is the. Oh yeah. What was that guy's name?
Carl.
I don't know his name.
Carl. Yeah.
Carl. He was.
I don't
Carl.
remember the actor's name though. Colin, you are up, and then we'll do a hint.
Expendables 2.
That is wrong.
Wrong.
Okay.
And okay, so
You said who?
So
who is it?
We are back to Tony, and this is the start of our hint round. And so my hint is going to be, this is a 90s action movie where he plays.
That doesn't narrow it down.
Well, he doesn't play the lead. He's, I think, the second male lead. And this is a high concept sci-fi action movie.
Universal Soldier.
No, another one similarly.
Galactic Soldier. Galactic Army Man.
It's not.
Oh, is it?
Not your
No,
guess.
he's not. He's not in. Wait, what is that one where they unfreeze like a criminal from the future or something?
Demolition
Thinking
Man.
of Demolition Man.
That's Demolition
That's wrong.
Man.
That is not.
Unless you're thinking of Encino Man, which is also wrong.
That's
Wrong.
All right, Juel, you got a guess?
this is Dolph Lundgren in a '90s action movie.
Yep.
He said,
I would love to see Dolph Lundgren in like a '90s indie drama.
Yeah, a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
I must love you.
Universal Soldier. Oh wait, let me not lean back. Universal Soldier. You said that one.
High concept sci-fi from the 90s.
Yep.
Sci-fi.
Does it have
Are you
escape from something in the
able
title?
to say who the top billing is in this movie?
If I
Harris, or will that give it away?
did, you guys would probably get it. in
then you should
a few guesses. All right, I will. It still might take you a couple guesses. The lead is Keanu Reeves.
Oh, is it I know my
your
guess.
Turn to guess.
I know my guess though.
Keanu Reeves 90s movies. Okay, just by process of elimination, he's not in Speed. He's not in The Matrix. He's not in The Devil's Advocate.
I think I know what it is.
Fuck, he's in a movie. Keanu Reeves is in it's a sci-fi movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've never seen it, but it's like Johnny something.
Oh,
he's like in
does it have anything to do with acronyms?
It does. And yeah,
Fuck, I know it.
Joel, you got to come up with a title, or
Joel, get it wrong. I want to get it wrong.
It's like a Keanu. I've never seen the movie.
It's what's his face?
It's like Johnny.
You're so close.
I just did a huge hint.
close.
Johnny. He said, "Wait,
you know what you need? You need some kind of device.
Does it have anything to do with acronyms?
You need some kind of device.
Johnny Mnemonic.
Johnny Mnemonic. So you can remember this.
Yes, Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, nicely done. All right.
Nice. So that's it. That's all four.
I have no idea that Dolph Lundgren was in that movie.
I had no idea he was in that either.
I think it's a pretty small role, actually. I don't know.
What's that one? I think Denzel's in it where they like eat glass. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Virtuosity.
Virtuosity.
He's not in that.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
That's Russell Crowe.
Yeah. All right.
A very early Russell Crowe role where he's like an insane person.
No, what I was gonna say about Dolph earlier though is like even though he's only got like 10 lines, I think like he is. I think Drago. People like Drago because he is like a sympathetic character by the end of the movie. Even though he killed Apollo, like I feel like you feel something. At least I did. You feel something for him because he feels like he's in a program. You know, like people.
Yeah,
are
he
using
killed
him.
Apollo because he was because he's filled with rage. I mean, like that's why he killed him because he's pissed off. I mean, he's been belittled by the dude. He clearly doesn't understand like salesmanship, so to speak. That like it's all part of the show. Clearly, he's been sheltered to the point where it's like he's taking these slights personally because people. I mean, the dude called him an idiot. You know, the chancellor. I forgot his name, but you know, the Russian chancellor is like, you a fucking idiot. You know, they probably talk to him crazy, and so it's like, yeah, I'm about to whoop somebody's ass. You know what I'm saying? He's the only person he can let his anger out.
You could even say that he doesn't know it's a show. He thinks it's a damn fight.
Yeah,
It's a fight.
He definitely comes out of rises out on the platform like he's super confused. Like,
well, it's like
it looks like a condor that's being like released and doesn't understand yet.
There's the whole thing where it's like Rocky has heart and Drago doesn't have heart and we see all this with all the machines and stuff. But like, there's another thing going on there where it's like clearly they're kind of treating Drago like he is supposed to be a machine, which
like
to Harris's young friend's point. That is established in the movie, so maybe that's where the confusion was.
I guess so, yeah.
Quick story. So when I was watching the movie, Colleen and Maya were in the room for the montage, and I was like, "You got to watch this montage call. It's great." And so, they're watching it, and Maya, who's 4, is like fully like engrossed in this, and she all of a sudden the shot, like the needle is on screen, and she's like being a little kid afraid of shots. She's like, what is that shot? And we had to explain doping.
Steroids?
Then Colleen's like, it's a magic potion that makes you stronger, and you should never take it.
You should never take
it. That sounds like Dewey Cox.
Yeah, like, that's gonna say.
It's the cheapest drug there is.
You don't want no part of this.
This is just something that makes all your problems go away without any work at all. But never
magic
take
potion.
Right.
Magic strongman potion. Don't take it.
This will make you strong enough that nobody could ever hurt you, but never ever take this.
It was just funny that we had to address.
I don't know that you had to. I don't know. I'm not in charge of your parenting. I'm sure there's a way to avoid
like
that.
That's penicillin, man. He gets sick sometimes.
He was working out too much. He's sick.
My parents would have definitely lied. Based on my experiences, they would have just like made something up. They would have been like, "I don't know what that is. That's weird. That's weird that they put that in the movie. I don't know what it is either." Not,
we're like fully teaching her to be a drug addict. Like at night, sometimes she can't go to sleep, so we have these like melatonin like gummies, and we're like, "Ugh, she's not going to sleep. Do you want a gummy?" And she's like, "A sleep gummy, yes, I want one." We're turning her to she's gonna rely on drugs for everything.
Yeah, I feel like I never got the drug talk for like steroids. You know, it's like I feel like people don't talk about that the same way they talk about like heroin whatever. Maybe it's because like if you take steroids, you become Sylvester Stallone, and like, you know, I don't know if he's had too many bad side effects from it, you know, like other than becoming a millionaire,
fame and fortune.
Yeah.
There's also like, I feel like the drug talk is usually about the drugs that are like appeal to everyone. Like, you know, weed appeals to like a larger market than steroids. Like some people just don't want to be beefy, you know?
I think it's because with steroids, it's like, as far as I know, you also have to work out. You know, if it was just
this
like,
is really what holds me back.
Yeah. You know, if it was just like a one and done,
that'd be like if in order to get high from weed, you had to mow the lawn, or you have to like do something that no one wants to do.
Yeah, it's a 2-step process. You know, if they could get that down to just one.
Yeah, you kind of have to already be a gym rat. I actually prefer my kind of skinny yet doughy physique. This is like what I've been going for. I think I finally nailed it.
Hey man, I hear dad bods are in. You know.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I was going for. This is if I could be jacked and shredded if I wanted to. I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Me too. Yeah.
There also is like Arnold and Sly. Like Arnold and Sly don't really look like that anymore, you know. And like I don't know who's to say what they would look like if
they're 80 now.
Yeah, at some point you do get old.
But that's actually like Rocky Balboa. I think was the first Rocky I ever saw the whole thing from. I'd seen like all little bits of everything, but Rocky Balboa was definitely the first one I saw in theaters and stuff. And like Rocky's physique in that one. He looks like in this one he looks like an action figure, right? But like in Rocky Balboa, like he looks like a murderer. You know, like he's got like muscle accrued from like 40 years of weightlifting on it. You know? Like, it's like going back to like how our action heroes are different now. You know, like our action heroes now are like The Rock is really buff, but like who's the one under The Rock? Like Liam Neeson or Jason Statham or whatever. They're more like these realistic, like could kill you types as opposed to like can pose on a stage.
Yeah, superheroes are the ones that, you know, if you got a superhero movie, sometimes you'll see a guy bulk up, but then again they've got a lot of like they can do like a padded suit or something a lot of times. But usually it's like I think it's actually usually like an actor gets cast in one of those things and he uses that as an excuse to eat like chicken and rice and apples for 6 months and get totally shredded in the best shape of his life. And it's usually some guy in his 40s who's just like, oh yeah, cool. You're gonna hire a personal trainer and a chef to make me become jacked. I'd be curious to see what it would be like if I was huge. Yeah.
What's the dude from Eternals that just did that?
Yeah,
the dude
Camille.
from Silicon. Yeah.
I
heard.
And he didn't even have to. He literally was wearing an outfit in the like every minute of that movie. Like you never see his actual physique.
It was covered from head to toe.
He was actually wearing a shroud. His costume was just a big blanket, but yet he did it for the gram. You know.
I don't know if this is true, but I read an article about Robert Pattinson on the new Batman and how like they wanted him to work out more and get buffer, and he was like, nah, I don't want to have that pressure of like maintaining that physique for like 10 years. Like
I kind of like that.
I get it.
Yeah, just you're gonna have to shoot me with my shirt on. Sorry, man. That's how I say anytime somebody wants me to take my shirt off. I'm just like, no, you have to do it with a shirt on. That's just how I roll.
I mean, like, you know,
at the pool, you know, wherever, just like
there's old,
shirt on type of guy.
There's old techniques to deal with that. You get a body double. You just, you know, you get creative with the angles, and it's just like, yeah, that's me. You know? But really, it's like a guy hired for his.
I love when it's obvious in movies when it's a body double, when like they just hang on the shot a little too long and you can see that it's someone else's face.
They should put that back in more movies. Obvious body doubles for no reason.
Well, this was the great thing about Stallone and Schwarzenegger for the longest time is sometimes they couldn't find stuntmen that were as big as they were. So it's like we definitely have seen, like, we've watched some Schwarzenegger movies where you can tell that somebody isn't just isn't as jacked as he is, and you can tell when it's a stuntman because it's like, oh, who's that skinny guy with Arnold's haircut? You know, like not even close.
Yeah, I think every actor on every film should have a body double, and also like whether they're male or female, they should have a stunt double who is the opposite sex. I think that should be required across the board. I think that's how films should be made.
There should be a separate Oscar category for people who accept the challenge. of opposite sex body doubles.
No, the stunt double is opposite sex.
Okay,
you still get a body double that can.
Whatever. I would also like some opposite sex body doubles, just for like sex scenes, though, to really confuse
Now we're talking.
people.
Now we're talking.
Bring in my tit double.
This makes a lot of sense. I think I'm not sure. Are we? I hope we don't get canceled for this. This is, like,
yeah, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the fight. Let's talk about the actual fight in this movie. Where does it rank among the other fights? And it's a lot longer. It's like a 20-minute fight in this movie.
Yeah, along with the 10-minute Apollo Creed fight, that's a third of your movie right there.
Yeah. So it's a third of fighting, a third montage, and the other third is like
acting and robots. Yeah.
The acting in this, I felt like, was the worst of the three that we've watched, or the four we've watched in total so far.
You know what I think is interesting? When Adrian comes to Russia, she doesn't walk back the claim that he can't win. She just like kind of says she's sorry. So like, does she maybe still think he can't win?
I thought of that.
That's sweeter though. You know,
yeah.
Like it's nicer if you're going to stand by someone when they lose. Now,
just here to see if you get murdered.
Yep.
No, I actually thought of that last night and how weird that scene would have been when he hugs her if instead of hugging her or while hugging her, he was like, "So you think I can win now?" And she was like, "Oh, let's not get into it." You know, like, it's cool. I'm here, and that's the important thing.
Let's table this for later.
What do you want me to lie to you? Let's just,
We'll talk about it after you're dead.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in the hospital.
Yeah, Harris, were there any moments in this movie where, like, we've pointed out in the last three movies that there's always like these tedious like things that are written into the script, and then we'll find out later that like Stallone had to write it in there because he felt like people would be confused. Like in Rocky 1, when Adrian is like running towards the ring, her hat falls off, and there's a line where he says to her like, "Where's your hat?"
See, I kind of missed that about it because that was like the stupid shit that Rocky would say that made him more endearing, but also made you think that he was like on the spectrum or something, you know? And in this one, it's like he's too, like Rocky eventually in the series becomes Sylvester Stallone, where he's like wearing, Hugo Boss clothes and talking like a normal human, and then he goes back to being Rocky later on. But like we're in this like period where Rocky is at his least interesting and least funny and least dumb.
I would say the entire speech after the fight is one of those things you were talking about. That seems like it came in after. It's like, okay, so Rocky won, so like all these people are cheering for him now. Is that correct, Sly? And he's like, yeah, I'll write a scene where I'll tell everybody what's going on.
What's funny is you do a lot. There was a lot more in the director's cut about this theme of change and how Apollo says he can't change, and then Rocky says he can't change, and they really like underline that. And yet his speech at the end where he talks about if you can change, I can change. He actually cuts the if you can change, I can change. Like he cuts a lot of that out, and his ending speech in the director's cut is much shorter, but it's still like weirdly,
The change thing was really important part of that speech.
Yeah, I think he says part of it, but not the entire thing.
And in the director's cut, like instead of a freeze frame of him in the ring, they actually like follow him as he climbs through the ropes and like down a little bit, and then he walks into the crowd, and it freeze frames on that. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's way less powerful.
Yeah, it's very, very strange.
It is. There's so many weird things in this one. I guess we haven't talked about like how he kind of like ends the Cold War at the end of the movie, yes. Right? Like that's the impression everyone else got too, right?
Yes, he solved the Cold War. Yeah.
Oh, that's most certainly what happened.
I mean, I think a lot of that carried over into real life. I assume. I don't know the ins and outs of how the Cold War ended, but I assume this was a big part of it.
Well, this movie took place in '85, right? And the wall came down in '89. So
suspiciously close.
We can't say it didn't not help.
Yeah, exactly.
It definitely had an influence of some kind.
But what about all those people who attended the fight? Do you think they were like put into camps for like reprogramming?
Oh yeah,
or
definitely.
Like that?
No.
Okay,
it did not go well for them.
even the people on the dais, except for the one guy, started clapping too.
Oh, the premiere, he was into it. Yeah.
Although Matt, in the director's cut, they didn't do that, right? I think the premiere just gets up and leaves. The premiere gets up and leaves, and the guy next to him is like, "Oh fuck, I'm fucked."
He goes down and yells at Drago, and he's like,
it's time for the gulags.
He's like, "You're an idiot," and then Drago picks him up by the neck.
Yeah, that happens in both of them. But I think at the end, instead of clapping, I think the premiere just walks out when everyone else starts applauding. Yeah.
How hard must it be to grab someone by the neck and pick them up with a boxing glove?
With a boxing glove on.
It is impossible. Yeah.
He punches at 2,000 psi or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But he must grab it. He must grab at a pretty high psi too.
Yeah.
That's all I'm thinking when they say that is like every punch means you're getting hit with the force of 2,000 pounds. But then you see Rocky get slammed in the head like 47 times in the fight.
Yeah.
And you're
He
just like,
got brain damage. Yeah. He said he got brain damage.
Getting hit by a series of BMWs just over and over again.
He got brain damage.
And they never really explain how he wins, because this is a guy whose punch is hard enough to kill a man. And they even the Soviet guy says earlier, like, it's physically impossible for a small man this size to punch as hard as Drago does. And like somehow he goes toe to toe with him, and as usual,
he wasn't willing to die. That's what he told Adrian. He wasn't willing to die.
That's it. I guess that's it.
And Rocky was willing to die.
As usual, they do not duck or block many punches in this. I think more than in the first three movies, we see more actual sort of semi-boxing strategy in this than in any other movie. And yet that only encompasses about 10% of the matches. And most of the time they're standing toe-to-toe, just wailing on each other as usual.
Also, Rocky gets knocked down several times, including twice in a row and more than 3 times overall, which I think in the rules is just like you stop the fight at that point, but whatever.
He was popping up.
There's no rule for how many times you can get knocked down before they stop the fight, but basically if you can't stop the guy from beating your brains in at least for a couple of seconds, then they usually just call it because you can't defend yourself, which is clearly the case.
When I used to like watch boxing, like way back in the day, like on TV and stuff, anytime someone got knocked down twice in a row like that, they stopped the fight immediately. And anytime someone got knocked down in like more than one round, like successively, like 3 times in a row and in like 3 rounds in a row, they would stop the fight. Like they would just stop it. Like they just like TKO, it's over. Like I've never seen.
You're
like,
thinking of
this
Mike Tyson's
reality.
Punch-Out rules.
Yeah,
not exactly the same as real life, but similar.
Just going back to what I think Juel said about this final fight is like I do feel like in the previous movies there is that moment that's a bit clearer in the fight where like the turn happens, where like Rocky gets the information he needs in order to get the leg up to like finally like take control of the fight. In this movie, it just kind of happens. Like all of a sudden he like hits him and he cuts him, and once he cuts him, then it like shows that he's weak, and like you start to see the change in Drago, but how he's able to get that hit on him, like I felt like that wasn't quite earned.
It's in round 2, I think.
Yeah,
it's in the second round out of like 15 or whatever, 12 or whatever.
Yeah, because in the first round he gets like his ass beat. He gets like thrown around. And gets embarrassed a little bit. But I'm just saying, like in the earlier movies, they made that moment a little bit clearer, whereas in this movie they didn't.
Because in this movie they were just like, the point is to survive, and so it's just
and they're just wailing on each other.
Just fuck it, just have the ability to like not get your head knocked off your shoulders.
Yeah,
and as long as we get to round 15, man, you're no pain. That was exactly
no pain.
Like,
yeah,
that's
their big strategy. Is no pain.
You get your head turned into a fucking fucking balloon for like 15 minutes and still be coherent.
He said what his strategy was to stand toe-to-toe with them and show that he was willing to die and that Drago was not willing to die. So if Drago is hurt, that's like one part of that. That means like Drago like can experience danger, I guess. So then the rest of it is just him proving that he's really willing to die. And arguably he should have. No, sorry.
I got a question for you guys about writing. When you write a movie like this, how much do you write of the actual boxing matches? Like how much detail do you put into that, in terms of, is it just sort of like the broad strokes of this happens and then that happens, or do you actually get into like actual like choreography? Because I know there's obviously going to be people that take over that, but if I'm writing an action movie, it's not like I don't write what I think the stunts or the action should be.
Yeah, it's weird how you write about how the helicopters are sexy. Though. That's a really weird thing.
That's like my signature thing, is talking about the sex appeal of helicopters.
What?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There was like a good question and I ruined it. Fuck, I'm sorry.
No, let's go back to the helicopters.
I literally, he was just talking about when I write action movies, I like to write in the details, and I was like trying to think of like what's a funny detail.
Oh man, I thought it was a Harris specific thing, man. I thought that was like,
no. Here's the
Blackhawk swoops in with
friend.
an enormous boner and huge pecs.
Dude, I have this friend, and he was telling me one day about how he like overheard this coworker who was like really like right wing like extremist coworker talking and like just kind of talking shit and like like kind of bullying no one because he's like just like spouting off at the workplace or whatever, and the guy is literally like saying something like he's talking about like people who have like different sexualities or different genders, and he said he tries to claim that his gender is an attack helicopter because he thinks that's like a funny way to make fun of liberals or something. And it's like, this guy clearly wants to fuck helicopters. Like, what the fuck?
Hey man, different strokes, man. Everyone's got their thing.
Yeah.
But the fighting.
Back to Harris's question. Yeah.
Back to segueing from helicopter dick. No, I mean I think you said the action. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean I think what's interesting is we just
wrote one page that said they fight.
The exact opposite. It was pretty detailed, like the fight choreography. But what ends up happening is it starts like, because you start like it's somebody else's problem, right? In terms of like making it a reality. So you start where you're like trying to tell a little story with every round of the ebbs and flows, and like you're trying to do like plants and payoffs with the action. So it's like, oh, in the first fight he had like his shoulder roll wasn't very good, and like and he fucked up and got punched, you know what I mean? And then he like hurt him, in between rounds. He's like, he's weak on the shoulder. He doesn't do the shoulder roll. You know what I mean? Like, so you have these like boxing centric narratives that's going from the beginning to the end, where like there's a weakness in your boxing style, and then at a certain point the producers are like, less fight specificity, and then like at a certain point again the choreographers take over and just kind of do whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? And they just like they redesign the fights, once they have like an actual choreographer and shit. So the fight gets like written a few times, and then like even in the editing lab they rewrite the fight again, unless it's like a big kind of a set piece moment that clearly needs to happen in a certain round. They end up rewriting the fight again. So, it's actually pretty detailed, but what you write, or what we wrote at least, I mean, in terms of in the fight itself, the minutia of it, very little of it, like, ends up in the movie, Like, it'll be super specific, and they might take a few of the story points. So, like, throwing in Drago throwing the towel, like, in the script, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Certain of those moments, like Mama Ludmilla getting up and leaving, in the script. Like, the kind of interstitial cuts between, like, the family members and, like, your mama and Bianca, like, those kind of things stay in the story. But the actual, I punch, you duck, I throw a hook, you throw a jab, those details end up just getting rewritten by like the fight choreographer and Steve, and then they'll just do their own thing at a certain point.
And they never survive the like once page count starts becoming a thing, and like people start getting on like, oh, this needs to be shorter because there's a dollar amount attached to just each page just generally. So they're like, we need to cut $100,000. You got to cut 2 pages. It doesn't actually make sense, but it makes people feel better. The script is 2 pages shorter. Any shorter.
Yeah.
And so all
the
that
fight's still going to exist.
Yeah, exactly.
They literally
the descriptions just become shorter, even though the action's going to be the same on screen.
Yeah.
I feel like somebody should explain to the people that are concerned about these things that page count doesn't adhere that closely to price tag.
Oh man, one time we like, I shouldn't say this, but
is this another off mic story?
Believe me, nobody listens to this podcast. You're probably okay.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, the movie's out. It really doesn't matter. Like, but we just like adjusted the margins and like saved them like $600,000. Like, you know what I'm saying?
We do stuff.
We didn't like change shit. You know what I'm saying? It was like, we gotta get the script down, and it's like Steve didn't want to cut nothing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, all right, well, we just do some final draft fuckery with the margins, and you know what I'm saying, like little slick shit. Like you're not doing the whole margins, but you know you just
if you have like one of those those little orphan words that if you just extend the margin by one space, that orphan word goes into.
Oh yeah, we never use those.
You never
anyway.
get a one word line that can't
because final draft really compounds. No. Like one little word on one line can lead to like a whole page.
Then you miss a page break, and that's like
if it's early in the script. I'm saying if it's early in the script, you get rid of one of those little fucking dangling words. You like, oh shit, it's a page shorter. And you're like, what the like?
Juel is actually amazing at this. Like, because whenever we finish this, after we finish the script, we do a pass about this, and Juel's like a ninja. Like he can cut like 5 pages out of a script without changing any of the content of the script. Yeah.
Well, what's so stupid is that these people that are requesting these changes are industry professionals who work in this business and somehow don't understand like the basic concept that cutting pages.
They do.
They just have to justify it to
very well.
their
exactly.
person.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all like kabuki theater when it comes to like line producing and shit. Like it's like all of this shit is just performative. They know full well, but it's like. It's the optics of everybody can lie to each other and say, okay, this script is 4 pages shorter. We just saved $300,000 a page. Like you have to do the presentational theater of like, we went back into the script, found some shit to cut. You know what I mean? And it's like no one's going to like read the scenes and see like anything actually get cut out of this. It's like, they know. But like you've done them a favor by like all the line producer needs to do is be able to go back and like talk to the people. Yeah, and I mean I'm being reductive, but you know, generally speaking, like a lot of times, like it truly is on some eyeball shit. You know what I'm saying? And just be like, yo, we need a few pages out. You're like, okay. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it's not specific, because usually if it's something for real, they'll be like, cut this thing out.
Yeah.
Like if it's actually something.
We hate the robot. Get rid of the robot. And you're like, no.
Or money.
What if I just cut some lines and we keep the robot in there?
Or money. They'll say combine these scenes, put them in one location. Like they will come back to you and tell you to do.
But that makes sense. That like cutting pages for the sake of cutting pages is like hilariously nonsensical. Oh, yeah. But like actually, you know, condensing stuff, that serves a practical purpose.
Yeah. And they do both, but you know, it's like one of those things where they don't want the pay, like they just have a page count in their mind sometimes of like what they feel good about, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes, you know, even if people are adding dialogue to pre-existing scenes, like, because you know you got actors who. It's just so many people who want shit in the script, you know, and like sometimes it, like nothing changed. It might be like longer on the page, but it's just dialogue. It'll be something that clearly isn't going to change the money for real, you know. But they'll just be, you know, they'll see that it's a few pages longer because like you added some dialogue here, you added some dialogue there, and then you just got to go through the. You know, the song and dance, you know.
I wanted to point something out as the credits roll on Rocky here. Did anybody else notice that Stu Nahan, who plays the commentator in almost every Rocky movie, has like the best fucking agent? Did anybody else catch this?
Wait, what?
As the end credits roll, it says cast, and then underneath that it says co-starring Stu Nahan as commentator number 1, and then Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone, Adrian, Talia Shire. Like seriously, this has to be in some kind of contract that he had where he gets first like name in the credits or cast or separately. You know what it probably is? He probably had in his contract that he gets co-starring credit. So nobody else gets co-starring credit, so they have to list him as co-starring first before everyone else, and then list the rest of the cast.
He's in every Rocky movie.
I don't know if he's credited like this in every Rocky movie. This is the first time I've noticed it, but he's the announcer of the title fight in every Rocky movie.
I feel like that's a riches in the niches situation.
Yeah. I bet too that his name isn't in the beginning, like the front credits, and so they kind of like have to put him first, you know, before the cast listing.
But he's also not credits. Like, you know, he's like a, you know, kind of a minor sports caster type guy who mostly has most of his career has been playing a sportscaster in movies. It's not like he's a big name or something. So I just don't know how they negotiated this credit for him.
But this is how you keep playing a sportscaster in more movies.
That's
the other guy who did it with him in the previous 3 movies died after Rocky 3, so they replaced him with a new, another announcer guy.
Really? Maybe his friend replaced him and worked for free for some reason.
No, Colin, not for free, for revenge. His friend worked for revenge.
You don't believe in working for exposure, man? Huh?
I just can't let it go. Like, I can't stop thinking about that. Like, it's so stupid that he would do it for free. Like,
well, in Rocky Balboa, I'm trying to think if he gets paid for that fight.
Yeah, well, he
had to.
Oh, for the first fight?
In Rocky Balboa.
I don't really.
Because it's an exhibition match as well. It's like.
But I
guess you guys are going to talk about this in 2.
Yeah, he probably got paid in like Viagra and like old people pills or whatever, right?
Because that one's on pay-per-view, so I'm pretty sure he does get paid.
Yeah. Sorry. Wait, is that the one with Mason the Line Dixon?
Yes.
Yeah.
How many of the Rocky movies does he lose? Just 2?
I think just 2. Yeah, just the first and the last one.
Yeah. Although I guess he loses the 5th one just because he doesn't fight in the ring.
I can't speak to 5.
You gotta play to
brawl.
win.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he wins the street brawl. Yeah.
He won the street brawl though, because like all the people in the streets are celebrating
That's
him,
true.
including the priest for some reason, which I think is off. But we'll get to that.
Just you wait, Rocky 5.
I think it's time we summarize our thoughts on this movie. We'll go around and we rate the movie from 1 to 10.
Timothy Dolphins.
Yeah. Right, we have a Timothy Dolphin scale. We'll explain it off mic.
We don't have to explain it. I think a Timothy Dolphin scale kind of is self-explanatory. I assume.
Well, I feel like
I don't even want to know what it is.
Last time I asked to clarify something, that went to like helicopter dicks. So
Yeah,
this should be a mystery too.
It's a 1 to 10 scale of. Preferably whole dolphins. Our guests always want to do half dolphins for some reason, which I think is sick. But whatever. I'll go first.
And wait, before you jump in, Harris, I think what we're going to do here, since this is the first time we've ever had 2 guests at the same time. So I think for our metrics, we're going to add your scores together and take the average of them, and they'll serve as one person. Yeah.
Oh, you mean for the spreadsheet?
For the spreadsheet,
yeah. Don't make Matt reconfigure the entire spreadsheet based on this. All right, I
feel like you have to give this 2 ratings though, because there's a
two versions.
There's a how I feel about the movie and like nostalgia.
That's the only one that matters.
Where it ranks in your pantheon.
Yeah, that's the only one that matters.
Are you ranking it?
This is all very subjective, and I try not to make it totally embarrassing by keeping it somewhat reality based, but at the same time it never ends up being that because Colin's here. So I am going to give
when I used to watch this movie when I was young, I used to like skip the part where Apollo Creed dies because I just didn't want to watch it.
If you didn't see it, it didn't happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's mad about something and he has to go, and Duke is there.
He's got to avenge someone somewhere for some reason.
He's mad that his son is such a bad actor.
Man. I usually just start. I used to just start where Adrian tells him that he can't win, and then go from there.
Well, then you missed all the robot.
When they cut away from the ring, from the Apollo fight, was Apollo dead?
Wait, what?
Like when they cut away from the ring, because
they cut directly to the funeral.
Yeah, but I don't think he dies on camera, because Drago just said if he dies, he dies. So clearly he's not dead yet.
Rocky's cradling him and yelling for a doctor. Rocky's yelling that everyone should back up and give him air while he literally smothers his head in his bosom. I don't know that he's actually fully dead on camera. It's hard to tell without putting a mirror up to his mouth.
Just trying to give your headcanon some fodder is that that could have been a funeral for somebody else.
It's true. He could still be alive.
I don't even know if at that funeral they say his name.
Do we even? Yeah. Do we
feel
even
that way,
know that Apollo is dead at all?
Yeah.
And also, here's the thing: is if they're gonna keep making sequels to these movies, I want ghosts. I want Adrian's ghost. I want Apollo's.
Oh, wait
ghost.
a minute. Was it? Yeah. There was a version.
Oh no!
There was a version. there was an Apollo Ghost version of one of these Creed scripts.
Yeah, why not?
Hey,
I love it. I love it.
I think people have spoken.
The only mistake is not doing it.
I forgot who wrote that one in theirs, but there was an Apollo Ghost.
That's awesome. My voice cracked. Did y'all hear that? Ultimately,
ghosts.
Just hit
Spooky
puberty.
ghosts.
Yeah. Ultimately, you want to see the final fight be between two ghosts.
I think we're getting there. Rocky.
Oh, and maybe it can be like a ghost situation where like Whoopi go,
Oh yeah.
pottery ghosts.
Exactly.
They inhabit two people.
Instead, it's like a speed bag, and they're like.
Creed 3 should end like the Cell Saga in Dragon Ball.
How?
I don't
it's
know
just
that,
like
though.
fucking y'all. Nobody watch Dragon Ball Z.
But there's no. Does someone get possessed?
Gohan and Goku.
Oh, I thought you.
The fucking your fucking dad is like powering up your Kamehameha from the fucking spirit realm.
I just remember.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I remember Boo.
And like
I don't remember.
Adonis is like coming for the punch, and you've got Apollo over his shoulder like Goku. Nobody watches Dragon Ball Z.
No, I totally support what you're saying.
I mean, were they fighting Boo or Cell?
They were fighting Cell.
But I thought
he kills Cell. He's got one arm. He shoots a fucking one arm Kamehameha and fucking destroys every
But why do I remember Boo destroying Cell?
Sorry, because you don't believe it.
The look of disappointment on Juel's face.
I'm talking about literally the Cell Saga, the end of the Cell Saga, right? The end of the Cell Saga. Goku's dead. Gohan's got one arm. Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2. You know, the introduction of Super Saiyan 2. Goku's over his shoulder. I mean, this Adonis Apollo thing doesn't land if we're not familiar with the backstory.
But someone listening does know this backstory, and they're like, man, she's so right.
That's
someone is screaming at their iPhone right now.
Yeah. I don't know the reference, but I'm totally picking it up. I feel like totally in support of this.
I think we're gonna have to table it though until we start our Dragon Ball Z podcast, which is now
that's gonna be a long one.
Yeah.
Oh god.
My brother has been like getting on my ass about watching Dragon Ball Z for years. Like every time I talk to him, he's like, "You need to watch Dragon Ball Z." I'm like, stop. We're adults now.
You know what they say about that? They say you got to get the ball rolling.
Yep.
Cause you thinking about Super Boo.
All right.
You thinking about when he absorbs Cell later, but I'm talking about the actual conclusion of the Cell Saga. This is just...
Well, wait. Here's a question I have for you guys that you might know the answer to. Is it ever established that Apollo Creed has a son? I noticed
he's got 2 kids.
This motherfucker got 2 kids. Yeah. Please believe. But it got retconned in Creed, so
What happened to those dogs?
I mean, that's a good question.
Wait, it got retconned.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
He only has 1 kid now in Creed.
I'm saying he has 2 kids like in
this movie.
like the canon. Yeah, I'm saying like up until Creed, he had 2 kids, and neither one of them were Adonis.
But Adonis is this like illegitimate kid.
Illegitimate kid.
I don't remember. So he doesn't have any legitimate kids in Creed?
No.
But he did.
If he does, they're not spoken of.
Yeah, they might be out there in the world.
I guess they don't.
They might be in the world.
I guess they don't have anything to do with it.
They just don't talk about it.
No, but actually, wait, Joel. In one of the first drafts, wasn't his brother in it?
Yeah. Like in other drafts, I mean, you had Ghost Apollo in other drafts. His kids are in other drafts. I mean, like all of
the robot.
Because one of the things that in the draft,
robot never made it in.
And then
the robot comes back.
Because one of the things was that his brother was like, I don't want to speak out of turn because this is a draft that predates us even getting on Creed, and we read it like in arbitration, and like when we first got on the project, but then I forgot a lot of the details, so I want to fuck up the details. But there was a version where his brother was like came back around, like kind of like a grifter, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he was kind of salty that like he got all the pub, and he was like, the illegitimate son got all the pub from Creed 1, and the brother was kind of a grifter who was like salty about it, and he I don't remember exactly what happened, but I might be fucking the details up, so take that with a grain of salt. But the brother was in it.
It'd be cool if he was a boxer too, and then they had to fight each other, the 2 brothers.
That could be Creed 3 is just brother versus brother,
and they got to bring the robot.
They have to fight for the love of their dead dad.
Yeah, or or
who's a ghost watching on the sidelines,
or they just have to fight Clubber Lang.
I think the important part here is, and I can't stress this enough, is that the robot has to be brought back before we can have the ghost of the robot.
That's a good point. That's
True.
a good point. Wait, what if the robot is possessed by the spirit of Apollo Creed? And it's just his voice talking.
Sounds like the best movie I've ever heard of.
I found this haunted robot in Rocky's attic.
It'll be but it won't be a robot. It'll be I think it would just be an Apollo Creed android because the technology's had plenty of time to.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
The Soviets copied him.
I don't know if it's a technological question so much as like when a ghost haunts a robot, it kind of just like it could haunt a toaster or any number of things. So once
ghoster,
once it picks its host. In this case, the robot from Rocky IV, it's sort of stuck with it, I think.
I got you.
Yeah. This is going to be my spec script. I'm going to be really upset if they steal it from me.
You're going to be like that Anderson guy.
Yeah, I'm going to be like that guy.
There's no way. You also thought of this story.
You also thought Apollo Creed was possessing the ghost from the robot from Rocky IV? That can't...
But the helicopter penis thing, that's mine. You can't take that away from me.
All the helicopter sex, that's all mine. Don't even think about it. All right.
Think of all those penis rotors spinning around faster and faster.
That sounded like something that would be in South Park. Penis rotors.
Give us your rating, Harris.
All right, my rating. At this point, I don't even really know what to say about this movie. This was fun. This is a nostalgic watch. It actually didn't hold up as well as the first. I actually went into this thinking that this was going to be my favorite, and the first Rocky movies were going to be kind of disappointing. And I actually think the first two are really good. And then it sort of leans on its cliches too much and sort of turns into what the franchise became, which isn't a bad thing either. It's super entertaining. It's just I give a shit less and less about the characters and everyone. But I do love the songs and the Apollo Creed Drago fight is amazing. The whole introductory sequence. And yeah, I think there's a lot to like about this. It's goofy and it's kind of cheesy and it's very much of its era, but it is a really fun movie. I'm going to give it a probably too charitable 8 Timothy Dolphins.
Wow, that's nice. Solid score.
Yeah, it's a lot of dolphins.
All right. Does one of our guests want to take a crack at summarizing their thoughts?
Juel and I talk about this sometimes. That like, it seems like movies in the 80s and 90s, they were like more unironic or more, and for that reason, like more earnest. And there's something like kind of like magical about that. And this movie with ending the Cold War to the robot to like training in the snow, it like feels very earnest. It's like it doesn't think it's silly in like a kind of a magical way. So I give it 8.5 Timothy Dolphins.
Oh
wow.
No, I've seen all the Ernest movies, and this is nothing like
that. Ernest goes to Russia.
Yeah.
Colin, you want to go?
All right, yeah. This was always my favorite Rocky growing up because it's like so over the top and ridiculous. I think something about what Harris was saying earlier about like the way kids talked about it in like elementary school and junior high, the way they talked about the Rocky franchise, the way kids talk about the Rocky franchise, the character and the movie we see in Rocky IV is most analogous to that, I think. You know what I mean? Like this is like he looks like a superhero, but also he has like for whatever version of a boxer is like a superhero action figure in the minds of like, children of my, era. That's what it was. This Rocky IV is more that than the other Rocky movies were, even though they came before it and set the stage. And so, yeah, it's like super over the top, but I just don't, like them as much as I used to, because maybe I've got burned out on it. And then like I just really don't like to talk about what happens with a certain storyline, a certain character storyline in this movie, because it's just too sad. Yeah, I'm kind of in between 7 and 8, so I'm trying to just trying to figure it out. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 8 for the robot.
I was gonna say, has Colin ever given anything a lower score than me? This would have been a first if I had gone to the 7.
I absolutely was going to, and then I felt like it would be wrong if I gave it a lower score than you did.
Awesome. All right, so 8 was your number?
Yeah.
All right, Juel, what do you think?
I'm kind of been listening to those, I've been fluctuating between 7 and 8. I mean, I think that the nostalgia factor for me, much like Colin, that was my favorite Rocky movie as a kid. Growing up, Rocky 4 was definitely the one I was the most familiar with. Like, even, as a wee lad, and so there's always a nostalgia like burned in my mind of, the Rocky 4 iconography. Now, it has like literally like a episodic half-hour TV shows worth of plot in it. So I mean, like, it's when you rewatch it, you're like, damn, they really got to that fight quick as a motherfucker, But I mean, because it's so, like Tony says, like it's so unabashedly like, everything that you loved about Rocky. Like, they really try to distill everything that was iconographic or iconic about Rocky 1 and 2 and 3 and said, fuck it, we're just gonna crank that shit up to 11, leave out all of the abusive siblings and like just fucking alcoholism and all the bullshit from Rocky 1 that actually made it an amazing movie, but a real downer in points. And let's get rid of the downer shit and let's just fucking knock some heads and like have montages and shit. So I mean, like, you gotta respect it, I'm gonna give it you said you didn't want to have. I'm gonna give it an 8 Timothy Dolphins.
Wow, guys, we're all kind of on the same page. I think I'm kind of shocked, to be honest. I mean, Juel, I think you hit it on the on the nail on the head there. Like, I kind of mentioned it earlier. Like, I think this movie distills it down to like the things that people want to see. It's the people pleaser. It's like the streamlined version of Rocky. It's almost like, I think we talked about in the last one that, Stallone envisioned this as a 3-movie series. After the third one, he had no plans to do another one. And then I feel like someone brought up the idea, or maybe a script was submitted to them with the idea of like making it about patriotism and like, the Cold War thing. And like, that brought everyone back, and they kind of were like, all right, we'll come back for one more Rocky, but we got to get rid of all that like feelings bullshit and like just make it about the fight and the training montages, and like that's it. And we'll kill Apollo Creed to give it some weight, And yeah, there's something to like, this is clearly not as good of a movie as the previous 3, even Rocky 3. But the nostalgia factor and like just that, like, I was playing the training montage like while I was doing yard work before, like it just pumps you up, and it's like, it's just I don't know. Like I said, I just had a grin on my face the whole time. It was like, it's just a fun movie, and for that I have to give it 8 Timothy Dolphins.
8's all around, right? 7.5 for Tony.
8.5.
I said 8.
Oh, 8.5. Oh,
yeah, he went high.
Give it an 8.5. Yeah,
it's from 85.
It is from
all
85.
the more appropriate.
And it's 5 of us on here.
Wow. And 8 is a number I've also heard of.
All coming.
You guys ever think that like the number 8 is just like infinity turned on its side?
I have.
You ever looked at a helicopter and
You ever thought the number 8 is just like 2 tiny zeros fucking?
Hello.
Yeah. All the time.
Wrap your mind around that one. All right.
2 helicopter propellers
Tony,
spinning full world,
exactly.
nudging up against each other.
Whoa.
They're just
hot.
dick docking. That's all it is. So on that note, Tony and Juel, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to not only do the show, but to watch the movie, and you guys had a lot of good insights. And
no, this is super fun. I wanted to be on for the
man.
Aliens one, but apparently you guys did that already. So this is a good substitute.
Maybe we'll do Prometheus or something.
Oh God, I didn't like those.
Yeah. That was.
But
why should we punish Tony?
If you ever do Starship Troopers,
Yeah.
Ooh.
I want to be on for Starship Troopers 2. Amazing movie, man.
Wow, okay. Yeah. That's not out of the realm of possibility.
We might have to do it because Harris has a very hot take on Starship Troopers.
It's one of the only movies, the original Starship Troopers is one of the only movies I've ever walked out of the theater on.
Oh my God, I love it.
I
know. Me and Tony love that.
Everyone does. I didn't get how much of it was supposed to be ironic.
I love Starship Troopers. I got one of these books is the first. It was published in a magazine first, and one of them is one of those magazines from like 1959.
Wow, that's awesome.
Nice.
Well, guys, so this show will be out. It is March 14th when it comes out. So I don't know if you guys have anything.
You got a movie coming out, don't you?
Allegedly.
Yeah, anything you want to plug or like promote or get out there in the world for March 14th or
any time in the future.
You might just see us around somewhere.
Isn't there who? What's the lasagna? What's
Sounds
that
like
line? Real. Gotta be like lasagna.
Yeah, real G's move in silence.
Okay.
Fair enough. All right, maybe off mic you guys could tell us what's going on. But do you guys have any like social media things where people could follow you? Do you have any like Twitter or Instagram or anything like that?
We no.
Just misanthropic motherfuckers.
Neither of us post or really.
So smart. I always applaud anybody who stays off that shit.
It's less stuff for me to write about in the show notes. So hey, thanks.
I know.
Thanks.
But we appreciate
we're just two motherfuckers roaming the plains,
Bushido screenwriters.
Like Kung Fu.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, that's great.
Yeah, we're Ronin writers,
You just go from screenplay to screenplay.
Just where are they? I don't know, man. We're just hanging out with them.
Cool. Well, when we inevitably do Space Jam, we'll have to have you guys back.
Oh God, no.
That's a lot of like, hey, cut this off.
It'll all be off mic stuff.
Yeah.
You can just, you don't have to come on as guests. You can just feed us blind items, and then we'll be on here going like, I heard, and I don't know where this came from.
I heard about this.
I heard this story.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what should take us out? Should we try to sing "Hearts on Fire"?
Oh God.
All right.
Ready?
Hearts on fire. This can't.
I don't even remember the second line.
Everyone's got a different tempo. Everyone has a completely different tempo.
What is the other one? Like two countries. Whatever.
Yeah, I feel like the other one I knew a
in
couple
the burning
of
heart. I don't know any other words.
Trapped in a paradox. All I know was it was trapped in a paradox.
All right, I think that pretty much did it. I think we nailed it.
As always, thank you for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe if you like listening to us talk about your favorite movie franchises. Thank you to our guests, Juel Taylor and Tony Rettenmaier. And as always, thank you to Chris Morocco for banging out the Rocky remix for this series. We have a Patreon that you can check out and subscribe to for just $1 a month over at www.patreon.com/L2W. That's www.patreon.com/L2W. Help support the podcast by joining. You get instant access to over 45 bonus shows that feature us covering non-franchise classics such as Cliffhanger, Loaded Weapon 1, Showgirls, Mortal Kombat, and so much more every single month. Again, that website is www.patreon.com/L2W to join. This show is a part of the Fandom Limb Podcast Network, so be sure to check out some of their other awesome shows. And be sure to tune in next time for Rocky 5.